Alright. We're live.
We're live?
Mm-hmm.
We're on?
If I can find out where the chat is though. I'm going to pop this chat out.
Okay. And then our volume's good. Do we need to adjust that?
No.
Alright. Make sure you're in the frame when you sit down.
Yep, go ahead. It's good.
Okay, I was just making sure you're in the frame. Hey guys!
G'day, g'day.
So, welcome. This is our live stream. It is 3 o'clock our time, which I think is Mountain Time, on Friday, February 23rd. So once this live is completed, we'll have it on our Patreon page for our patrons if you want to rewatch it.
G'day, John. G'day, Dave. G'day, everyone.
Guys,
Thanks
hello.
a lot. G'day, Sandra. I don't know. We'll look for your headphones later. What the heck? Where are you? Are you in Loretto? Anyway. All right, what else have we got, Hill?
All right, so as you may have seen earlier today, we just released a video as we were preparing to leave the cruise in Magdalena Bay. We did that, and we're in Magdalena Bay now.
We are now back in our home of Puerto San Carlos. You can hopefully see a bit of it behind us. Very windy today, probably up in the 20 knots, yeah?
Really choppy in here too, because it's a big, flat, open bay, lots of fetch, and it's really shallow, so it gets super choppy in here.
Great to see you here, Michael. Thanks everyone for joining. Great to see you guys. Hello, Nate.
Hello,
how's Alaska?
Everyone.
Hope you got some nice weather up there.
Abu Dhabi.
Oh, we love Abu Dhabi. That's one of our favorite places, actually.
Yeah.
Spend a lot of time there ourselves, so hope you're having fun there. Where are we at, Hill?
Okay, so what we'll talk about today?
All right, so today we're gonna talk about where we are right now, because our videos right now we're about 3 weeks to 4 weeks, probably closer to 3 weeks behind where we actually are, just because of the editing time and all that jazz. So the video you just watched is just before we left Puerto Vallarta with a crew member that came down. We had a patron crew member join us. We're now in Magdalena Bay, right?
Yeah, and so we'll give you a little preview of where we've been and what's coming up in the next few episodes. And what else?
Let's see, where we're going next. We'll talk about what we do when we leave here. We're going to be spending the month of February, but that's almost over, I guess. So we've got probably another week here or so. We will be heading south to the Riviera Hajedos. Riviera? Did I say that right?
Riviera Hajedos.
I'm getting better at it, but I'm still not great.
Islas-
Riviera Hajedos.
Yeah.
We got our permit today.
Socorro and San Benedicto, we got our permit. We're going to do some awesome diving out there.
Supposed to be a lot of sharks and huge mantas, so I'm a little bit...
Huge giant manta
I'm a bit nervous
rays.
about the sharks. Hillary's kind of excited because she's weird like that, but I don't know, the sharks, I think I'm going to be a little bit nervous about that.
Yeah, it'll be nerve-wracking, but it'll be cool too.
We're also going to talk in depth about some questions today. So throughout the week, we asked our patrons if they had any questions that they want us to go into more in depth. So they sent us a few questions that we're going to dig into deeper and give a bit more detail on it, right?
Yeah.
What else?
That's it. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we're going to give you a real quick, this is raw footage that we haven't edited yet of basically what's happened between the most recent video that went live today and where we are today. It's real short. We're going to run through it real quick for you. And I don't know, hopefully the video's okay because we haven't edited it yet. And we'll talk you through it, all right? All right, go for it, Hill.
All right, so we picked up our patron crew member, Lori, who joined us for a sail up here to Magdalena Bay.
Our friends from SV Sedna joined us on their Hans Christian 38 to Isabel for a lengthy upwind sail.
After that, we did some awesome sailing, and we got back to catching fish, which was...
Back to catching. We got a Jack Crevalle was the first fish that we caught. And then we got to Isla Isabel, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's the Jack Crevalle.
Yeah,
That
it's
was a good
huge
fish.
guy.
A lot of people said they don't
fish.
eat it, but anyway, Isabel's got researchers back on it now, so they got everything tagged up.
We got to chat with the scientists there.
We had whales in the anchorage there.
Swimming by every day, and then we set out and did more fish catching. We got
fish catching.
Another Jack Crevalle. We also got a southern bluefin tuna.
That was great. Sushi.
Delicious.
You cooked up. Hillary does really good sushi on board, so that was pretty bloody good. And that fed us for like a number of nights.
It did, yeah.
And let's see, we had a good sail. We had dolphins on the bow. We had beautiful sunrises.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, gorgeous sail. Awesome sunrises and sunsets whole way.
Had some splicing. You did splicing at sea?
I did, yeah. I did some 8-strand splices.
And then we had absolutely amazing sunrises.
Amazing.
Crazy looking stuff.
Yep, rounded Cabo and did the upwind bash.
Yep.
Then it calmed down and we jumped in the water and cleaned the bottom.
Cleaned the bottom. Yep, that was good stuff. Let's see, after that we finally did enter into Magdalena Bay, which was amazing.
And
whales
we were
all around
greeted
us.
by whales.
Yeah.
Right around the boat, so close to
Under the boat. That one
Under
swam
the boat.
under it. And then you jumped in, you had to go for a swim with them. I had to
Yep.
go up the mast.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you do.
That's
to
what
fix
you gotta
stuff.
do.
Broken
Yep.
anemometer.
And then we got back to Puerto San Carlos, Arjuna's birthplace.
Said bye to Laurie. Thanks, Laurie. You were awesome to have around. We said hi to Puerto San Carlos, our home away from home.
And here we are. Spent some awesome time up in the mangroves with the whales, and it was just incredible.
And you guys probably know from our other videos, we love it up there. It's ridiculously calm. There's no other boats around, like no one other than the local fishing boats. Absolutely amazing place. If you guys get down here, you've heard us before. This is why we came back. It's an incredible place to hang out. Bloody amazing. And then that's where we're at right now.
That's where we are. Yeah.
Oh, I think when it's done, it should switch right back. Look at that!
Beautiful.
Come on, guys, you got to come and look this out. Oh, Hillary found a turtle skull, so now we've got a bloody turtle skull on board. All right. Hope you like that little quick rundown, guys.
Yeah. So what else? What's next? Where we are, what we're up to?
Yeah.
Oh, so this weekend we're in Puerto San Carlos. We came back and dropped off our friend Sandra today, and it's the Whale Festival this weekend in town.
The Festival de las Ballenas.
Yeah, good
job. See. So we're going to go check that out in town tonight, actually. There's a bit of a party. There's like a music stage set up and all that sort of jazz. So, hello, Robert. Thanks for joining in from Poland, mate. Good on ya. Welcome, Todd, in Canada. Yeah, Brett. So that one, the fish we had wasn't bonita. We've caught it. We love to eat the bonita, so we catch the bonita. But that was definitely a southern bluefin, because at first it did look a bit like the bonita, but it was the Jack Crevalle and then the southern bluefin that we got, and that was delicious.
The bluefin was really good. Good sushi, good just like seared with a bit of sesame seeds on there. Yum.
What else? I'm trying to see where everyone's from. We've got people from all over the place.
We do. That's cool.
G'day, Craig. I'm guessing Craig's from Perth. I mean, your name kind of gives it away, mate, but you know. Manchester, g'day. Turkey.
Yeah, Turkey, wow.
Man, you guys are all over the place. I hope you guys are having a great time wherever you're at.
Thai Spanish is getting better. Much better. Kind of.
Thanks, Alejandro. Yeah, I struggle because I get lost on the words, but at least I can kind of get the point across.
Yeah. Brazil, Texas, Florida, Germany.
Where's Anna Maria Island in Florida? I don't know Florida that well. Germany, yeah.
Oklahoma.
Is everyone excited for the World Cup? That's coming up soon, right? When is that?
I don't know.
I think June,
too
July.
Out of touch with that.
Yeah. We can't keep track of time. I think the Olympics is going on, but that kind of passed us by.
Yeah.
We don't get to see that.
Sailing vessel Snowflake in Grenada.
Grenada. G'day, g'day.
From up the
I bet it's
Columbia
nice
River.
out there. Oh, beauty. Whereabouts up the Columbia River, mate? June 14, okay.
Okay.
So, and it's Moscow, right? It's in, well, Russia, it's probably all over, but I'm sure the big games are in Moscow. Be interesting to see how that all goes.
Yeah.
Should we do some questions?
We can, yeah. Do you want to?
Is that what's next?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
So we had.
We have about like 6 or so questions.
Yeah,
maybe.
we get a lot of questions, and I think you guys, a lot of you probably know. We see a lot of you guys comment in the YouTube, and we try and get back to you on there and all that stuff. But sometimes it's just, man, there's so much stuff we want to go into in more detail, and we don't get around to it, and we forget about it and all that jazz. So we put out a kind of a question to our patrons and asked them and said, hey, what do you want to hear us talk more about? So hopefully some of their stuff, g'day from Tasmania, Dad. Hopefully it's a bit more in depth of some of the stuff that you guys are wondering as well. And if we don't answer it properly, or if there's more about this particular subject you want to know.
If you want us to elaborate more on something, or it's not clear, let us know and we can go even more in depth here. Yeah.
Well, g'day, Brett, and thanks. I'm glad you got a nice house there in La Paz. It's a beautiful place. Beautiful place, mate.
Nice. All right.
All right, so the first question is, I'm good because we're looking at the right ones, from John.
From John, yep,
All
our
right.
patron John. So he said he would be interested in learning more about how you use your wind vane autopilot from a practical standpoint in conjunction with your navigation tools. For example, plot courses, setting up a heading, engage the wind vane, all that sort of stuff.
I don't know, I'm trying to work out how to answer that one. It's pretty basic, I guess.
It is,
because we don't use any, like, we're sailing 95% of the time, so we're not using an autopilot with routes entered in where it's changing our tacks or anything like that. I mean, our heading is usually, when we're on big sails, it's like a 3-day heading or a 24-hour heading or a 12-hour heading. So we're on the exact same tack, which means the sails don't move for 12 hours, 20 hours, 36 hours, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we set up the wind vane, Dan. Because the wind vane is, the way the wind vane works, if I had something I'll use this over here. This is Hillary's little fish boards, right?
Uh-huh.
So the wind vane, the vane sits on top and it basically feels the wind, right? And you have a leading edge, right? So the leading edge is basically exactly where the wind is coming from. All right, so the way I'm facing right now, if the wind is coming from this direction here off of our starboard side, then I would actually point the wind vane. It's on a ratchet system, so we can ratchet it around 360 degrees. And each notch is roughly, I think, 5 degrees that we've worked out. So we bring it around and the leading edge would be pointing into the wind. What happens is then, whenever the boat strays from the wind, as soon as the wind is now coming more from this side, the wind actually hits the side of it and it'll tip it over. And when that tips it over, there's a pendulum that goes down into the water and it twists the pendulum. And the pendulum's like a little mini rudder. Because it's twisting it, it's doing this. So now this is a rudder, right? And the rudder's under the water. It twists it, so the water flow actually will push it to the side, which runs through. This sounds way more complicated now that I'm explaining it. It's not complicated.
To talk it through, it sounds really complicated. It's not that hard.
When the pendulum pushes over, it pulls on a bunch of pulleys. So there's 2 lines, right? If it goes this way, it pulls hard on this pendulum, on this line, which will turn us to starboard side, right? When it turns us to starboard, this wind vane up top, which is getting blown, the wind comes around back into it, and this will now straighten up, and then we're back on course. And then the same thing the other direction. Once the wind starts coming from this way, because we've drifted too far the other way, it blows over this way, which again twists the rudder in the water, which then pushes it over and pulls the line. So it's not that complicated. There's 2 lines. There's a turn left and turn right, right? It just uses the wind, so it's better than an autopilot. But you do have to pay attention because you could easily crash into land.
Yeah, so
I mean,
it's easier in the fact that once you have your sail set, your sails are balanced, you're kind of headed in the general direction you want to go. You don't have to touch the sails. You'll probably weave back and forth and do maybe a little bit of an S shape on your course, but so you just have to pay attention if there's a big shift in the wind, 90 degrees, then you're going to be turned 90 degrees if the wind changes.
Which doesn't happen all that regular. I mean, not when you're
in the ocean.
Offshore. Yeah, I mean, the wind is relatively consistent, right? So you set the heading up and you pretty much go. Now, that being said, hey, your dad's here as well.
Hey.
We've got both dads on board.
Nice.
G'day to our dads. So that being said, we did have a bit of trouble with our wind vane on this passage that we just recently did over to here. We seem to have a lot of weather. It wasn't the wind vane was fine, I think. We do have to do a bit of tweaking, but there's a bit of weather helm. We've got a couple of issues. One, it seems like our rudder, this doesn't really affect it, but it does seem like our helm is off center from where our rudder is. And today we were wondering that might have something to do with when we redid the rudder post, that maybe that twisted it a bit. We're not sure about the weather helm. We're still kind of, I don't know, we're wondering on what was going on with that.
Yeah, because it was strange. We did all sorts of different sail adjustments and combinations, and
I mean, we were pretty close hauled, so I think that was a challenge too. I mean, we were really pushing it pretty tight. We were like 30 degrees off the wind. We had all 3 sails out. G'day, Mum. And we were, made me lose my track now. What were we doing? Oh, and our boat tends to have a lot of sail area anyway, so weather helm for us is always something where we sail really good when we've got a reef or even 2 reefs in the main, which just means a lot smaller sail, right? So if you can see, like, how do I do a triangle? So if this is
triangle.
our sail, right? When we reef it, you're basically making the sail smaller and smaller and smaller. So you're reducing the amount of sail that you have up, which reduces the effects from the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope anyways,
yeah,
anyone have any more
and I guess
questions?
for
of the answer
navigation,
there?
and I mean, in terms of how we set that up with like our course, basically when we head out of an anchorage or a bay or wherever we're leaving from, we'll head out just sailing regularly, either hand steering or with the autopilot.
Yeah.
And once we figure out the course we want to be on and what tack that is, what angle to the wind, basically we just get that vane set in the direction the wind's coming from, and away we go.
Yeah. You know, we did have it was a good discussion, because we had this discussion with Laurie, our crew member that joined us, and she was wondering about, they're in the decision stage of, do they get a they don't have an autopilot or a wind vane, so they're like, do I get a wind vane or an autopilot? And for them it sounds like an autopilot will probably work better, because they're not really planning on long passages, and I think a wind vane works better on long passages. A wind vane also doesn't really work that well necessarily in the Sea of Cortez. You have very fluky winds sometimes when you're close to land.
Anytime you're sailing near land or islands, the wind's constantly changing and shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does anyone have any more questions, or can we explain anything else with our wind vane and how that works? Or
While you're at that, I'll respond to a couple here. I saw
Watermaker's
doing great. It's pickled right now, so we haven't been able to tweak it anymore, because we don't want to run it up here in the mangroves. It's just the dirtier water. So that'll be pickled until we head out south, which just means it's got like a chemical food preservative in there to stop stuff growing. What else?
Someone asked, why don't we prefer an inflatable dinghy? That's actually one of the final questions on our patron questions, so we'll get to that. Yeah.
Mostly, I mean, we've got formal qualifications in the sense that we took ASA, which is called American Sailing Association, sailing classes and lessons, and then we did a lot of learning kind of weekend and daily and once a week kind of classes. But I think we learnt more from the doing ourselves and the asking questions. A lot of those sorts of courses tend to just be ticking off things on a checklist, whether you can do it or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put 100% faith in what we were taught as the reason why we do what we do.
Someone said, are we hooking up with any other YouTubers? We hope so. We're headed.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'll be headed down towards like Central America, Panama area this spring and summer. So I know there are some other people in that area. It'd be awesome to connect with them.
We really want to reach a couple of the ones we really love. Hey, is that? I thought I saw. Never mind. What was I gonna say? I got really excited, and then I was like, Rand Sailing. I know a lot of you guys probably love Rand Sailing. We used to be big supporters of them on Patreon. I think they just crossed through the Panama Canal, or are close to it. I think they might be in the Panama Canal. So we'd love to meet up with them, because they're awesome folks. And White Spot Pirates, Nike, and her boat Carl, they are, I don't know, where are they? In Panama still?
They're in Panama, I believe,
on the Pacific side now. And we would love to meet up with her, because again, we supported her for a long time on Patreon. And she's just pretty bloody awesome. So that'd be great to catch up with her. But we need to get our butts in the gear and contact them, and because we're out of service so often, it's
hard to get in touch and coordinate things.
We spend a lot of time trying to get back to the comments with you guys, and then we're like, oh man, I don't want to email anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, next question.
Okay.
Or do you want to?
I was just reading. He was talking about the wind vane there. Yeah, I think our cable. I mean, our cable tension was super tight. Was it too tight, you think? We've always thought we had to have the cable tension really tight, so we've been running it super tight lately and running as little slack in it as possible.
Or does he mean like our cable tension, like on our cable steering?
Oh, maybe. I don't think so. I don't think so, because it just seems to be. It happens even when we've got the autopilot on Sea Travel. Like you can just see like kind of a hard pull to port trying to hold up.
Yeah.
We don't use AC power.
No.
I don't. The last time.
No, I mean we have a little inverter. That's what we charge our laptops with, and that's basically all that we use.
That's
the
AC
inverter
power.
for.
It's an inverter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the shore power we plugged in. Did we plug in San Felipe or no? We didn't.
No, we were in the boatyard. We plugged in.
The boatyard. We were plugged in the boatyard. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the, otherwise, we've been all on solar since we left San Diego a year or so ago.
Yeah, and we actually, one of our questions coming up, we'll talk a bit about our solar power too. It's one of the questions.
Hey, Solent, we actually have been talking with them in email. They are now in Mexico somewhere. I can't remember where they are right now. Chiapas. They're in Chiapas, I think, doing some boat work. right now. We've been communicating with them regarding guidebooks and stuff. So we may cross paths with them, I'm not sure.
Brett, I would say, I don't know, I can't speak for you. My favorite place is right here where we are, Magdalena Bay, the mangroves.
Yeah, I mean, it's my thing because, hey, there's a guy out here in a snorkel and mask and a piece of styrofoam. He's probably, I'm guessing he's getting clams.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, we saw one the other day. We almost ran over one sailing. He's just out in the middle of the water diving for clams. But yeah, no, I love it here. I love the solitude. The fact that you don't see many other boats is pretty amazing. It kind of makes you wish that other people came and explored it.
And it's just such like for the most part, untouched place. Like you can go out a few miles and it hasn't been affected too much by people or tourism or anything.
I did not get my tetanus injection. I probably should get my tetanus injection, but I did not. Especially with all the rusty hooks and stuff on board.
Yes.
And November 14th is a pretty specific date. I don't know how we would know where we'd be then, but probably on our way to Galapagos or already in Galapagos?
No, we'd be probably leaving on our way
We'll
to
be
Easter
leaving
Island.
Galapagos on our way to Easter Island.
Unless we're behind and we're still in like...
Unless we spend an extra year in Central America.
Ecuador, Central America, something like that.
G'day, Craig. How's it going? All right,
next question.
This is
from Chrissy, our patron Chrissy. She said she would love to know what we do with our trash on board. So
it's a good question. What do you really do with trash? I mean, we try to limit it. That's the first one is we limit how much trash we have.
Yeah, so we're really careful with what we buy. We don't buy things with extra packaging if we can. We try and get rid of as much of the packaging on shore before we bring it on the boat. And then once we bring it on the boat, any sort of plastics, foils, anything not biodegradable goes in a trash bag. And one trash can will last us a long time, like a good month.
If we're careful with what we buy, the packaging is what kills it, especially the big plastic packaging and stuff. Otherwise, then, yeah, it'll last us a long time. We can go for ages.
Yeah, any sort of food scraps when we're offshore, away from shore, islands, it gets dumped in the ocean when we're away. Same thing, any sort of paper is good. It can go overboard. Tin cans, as long as they don't have a plastic lining in them, we can sink those. Yep. But if they have the white plastic, we've learned, or the white lining inside, that's actually plastic.
Or the tabs on the pull tabs on the top.
Pull
tabs on the top we take off and put in the. They'll go in our trash because they can get caught around different animals and so on.
Sea life, yeah.
So it's just a pure tin can.
And we do that when
we're sure it sinks. We do it
deep waters. Yeah. You know, we're in 300-400 plus feet of water, and we either poke holes in it, fill it with water, and make sure it sinks to the bottom, and then it'll corrode away in a matter of days, really.
What was I going to say? Yeah, you don't want it to float ashore. So that's the thing. You don't want rubbish to be washing up on shore. More about that later, because we did find a message in a bottle. Someone chucked a wine bottle overboard, and we found there was a message in this bottle. It was crazy.
It was pretty cool.
And money, but not much money.
Oh, Molly Mish.
G'day, guys.
The whales are here. They're actually late this year. There's only a couple babies around so far.
Yeah, we were hanging out with two the other day that had just had their babies. Were probably less than a week old. Gorgeous little things, and we're going to head back up there probably tomorrow. We're going to do the whale festival in town, and then we'll probably head back up there and hang out by ourselves for a few days before we head out of here and head south. So good to see you guys back vlogging again too, mate. We actually now we got some service. We watched your vids the other day. Cool stuff.
Yeah. What
Dinghy's
else?
good. We'll get to that. I think we're going to talk about the dinghy in a minute, Craig.
Yep,
so yeah,
it's coming up.
What else do we have?
Oh, that's the next question. Should we go into that?
Sure.
Okay, so Sailing Lutris asked, they wanted to know more about our choice on the hard dinghy, if we're happy with it, if we wish we went with a more traditional, inflatable, and yeah, just the reasons why we like our dinghy.
I think it's really, this is one of those ones, it's got to come down to personal choice, I think, because I think you're always going to have people argue pros and cons of either. I don't see us ever having or wanting an inflatable just because of the problems we've heard, just the longevity of them, I think, how careful you have to be with them, all those sorts of things. G'day, Rob. Man, you bloody top bloke, mate. Wow. Thank you. Yes, we can sink the glass. Same deal, as long as it's sunk, so we fill it with seawater, and we're off usually about 400 feet deep.
And try and make sure if there's any sort of like olive oils bottles have the little like plastic spigot, we pry that out, remove all the plastics, and just sink the glass.
Yeah. Where are we at with the dinghy? Yeah, the dinghy, we love a hard dinghy. I mean, how robust it is. I think that is why, although we've had to do repairs on ours, and that's what we heard about it when we decided to build the dinghy, was that you can easily fix it yourself wherever you are. You can do repairs to inflatables as well. I think it's just maybe harder to do or less. It might last.
From our experience
less.
with friends that have had inflatables, they are constantly repairing them too. It's like the same patch. You have to do the same patch over and over again because it doesn't hold very well on the... I mean, I don't know a lot about inflatables, but it seems like they're always being patched.
Yeah. I mean, sun damage is a killer for plastics, right? For Hyperline or the really cheap PVC ones or whatever it is.
The other thing we love, our boat's so lightweight and easy for the two of us to pick up. I know the inflatables are quite heavy and hard to drag up the beach.
The big thing with our dinghy was that we wanted something lightweight. And the nesting one was like huge, right? It's 10.5 feet. That's a big dinghy, but when we put it on deck, it's 4.5 feet because it nests together. Yeah. And yeah, we love it. We need to, now that being said, we still need to do...
We did some repairs, so the repairs went really well. If you guys saw in the videos while we were in the boatyard, everything with that is holding up really well. But we're still trying to figure out a better system for putting it together.
Yeah, we don't like the way that they... Right now, it's joined, so we changed it from 4 bolts to 2 because we had 2 below the waterline, which we didn't really like. We changed that to... thanks, mate.
Thank you, Brett.
We might buy a beer tonight in town at the festival, so cheers. We changed it to just 2 bolts above the waterline, but those bolts are, and your dad remember, 5/16. They're pretty small bolts, and they're hard to get a lot of tension on. They're tiny little wing nuts, and it's really hard to get them tight. So I think what we're going to look at doing while we're here is we're going to look for some large kind of couple of mil rubber that we can put in between the 2 halves. We're not sure how to attach it. I don't know if epoxy or like a 5200. I don't know if that'd work because I feel like it might. G'day, Rosalind and Ian. How's it going, guys? Hope you had a good time in Tassie. Yeah, nice. They don't know how to message us, no worries. So yeah, we want to put the rubber together. That'll help create a bit of a better seal. And I think we're thinking about trying, or at least I'm thinking about trying to put like a much bigger bolt, like something that's heavy duty that we can crank down on. And
we need a bigger wing nut is the real thing. Like,
bigger wing nut.
The little wing nut, you can't really get a lot of force on it.
Yeah, it's hard for us to get it, but I mean it works fine for the 2 of us. But when we start putting multiple people in the dinghy, that's when it gets more. You get more water in ingress and so on. But it's very safe though. It's not an issue like we're worried about capsizing. We're not worried about sinking or anything like that. Like it does great. I mean, even in this choppy weather, and we just row it or motor it, and it's good. Yeah. But the modifications we did in the boatyard made the motor way better. This transom is probably the biggest deal, right?
Yep, and then the joins too, and the bulkheads are nice and strong.
Yeah. Cool. Guys, got any other questions about our dinghy choice?
Yeah. So
G'day from Sweden.
Sweden, wow.
Yeah, minus 20 Celsius.
Cold.
Yeah, that sounds cold. Yeah.
Someone was asking about overfishing. I mean, you can probably see the fishing boats in the background here. They're always doing the sardines this time of year, and I feel like it was the same thing last year we were here. They're like, oh, it's a really bad year for the sardines, and same thing again, you know.
We, I think your dad's saying put a wing on the head of the bolt. So we did in the boatyard, Fred. We had the bloke we met there, he welded a wing nut for us on the head, and that helps a lot. So it did help a lot. It makes it easy that we can kind of tension both sides, but it's still a small little nut. Tiny engine, what would we do? I don't know what would we do. I mean, the propane ones sound interesting, but I don't really want to carry more propane. We're trying to limit how much propane we use.
Maybe like a little electric trolling motor or something.
Electric trolling motor. Cool. If we could put a little like battery somewhere, that would probably work cool. I don't know if we'd want a much bigger motor. We don't really need to go fast. We don't use the motor that much. We used it a bit up here because we were doing long trips up the mangroves.
And out by the whales.
Out by the whales. We used it, I think, a little bit at the end in Puerto Vallarta so we could just get into town quickly to pick Laurie up and so on and stuff like that. But it tends to be that we find that rowing is... This boat rows so well.
It's just as fast as motoring.
Almost as fast as the motor, and then we don't have to spend time locking up the motor and doing all that stuff. But
SV someday. More about the Danger Mouse shirt.
About the Danger Mouse shirt? Danger Mouse is pretty cool. He used to be on telly all the time as a kid growing up. Which is funny because at the same time, this is a total segue, as Danger Mouse was on, Used to always watch Inspector Gadget in the afternoon. And then we ran into Chris, who is the captain, or the skipper on board Gadget, which is Walter Cronkite, a journalist in the States. Walter Cronkite's old sailing boat from Martha's Vineyard.
Now belongs to the creator of Inspector Gadget and a whole lot of other cartoons he does too.
And his horn.
He is the loudspeaker that plays the theme.
It's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool at the same time. Anyway, that's kind of random.
How many meals will we get out of the fish? So the big one, the big Corrali Jack, that fed us all the way up until we were in here in Puerto San Carlos. So over a week for 3 people. And that
was multiple meals a day sometimes, right?
Yeah. A lot of fish, a lot of meat.
It was good stuff.
So that's why usually once we catch a fish, we just pull in the lines. And
is that when you did the baked fish? You did some of the baked fish?
Yeah, we did baked fish. We did like seared fish, sushi. Yum.
Go Gadget. In the last few days, we had some good clams. We've been having some good clams when Sandra was in town.
Yeah.
That was good. Last night we had a big feast of. How did you do those clams?
Steamed
in a nice
clams.
Stock?
Yeah, in a nice like stock broth. And
dipped in with some focaccia.
It's tasty.
All right.
All right. Should we do the next question or?
You missed Danger Mouse? Yeah, we can go to the next question.
Okay.
Okay. So Ed Grant.
So he would like some updates on our Mexican school supply donations, if we can help out with that. Yeah.
Above and beyond, how can they pledge their support for that sort of stuff?
Lately, we've been trying to focus a bit more on more community-based stuff rather than just the schools. We've been trying to work with a few organizations, which has been going slowly. We hope to meet up with one when we're out at Socorro, actually, called Pelagic Life. Some more organizations that are trying to help out in local communities, like fishing communities like this, and help grow their tourism industry and get them away from fishing.
So right now Hillary's working on, we're working on like a video about being back in San Carlos, and we're doing a lot of interviews with some of the locals and trying to present their way of life and why people should come here and how that supports their community and how they're changing. When we're talking about the fishing or the overfishing just before, they don't really have a shrimp fishing industry here anymore. Even though there's the shrimp boats, there's just no shrimp left.
Caught it all. Same thing we've heard there. They have, the islands out here have the permits for lobster, but we've heard because it's been poorly managed in this area, basically there's no lobster, whereas other towns where it's been better managed, they still have a lot. 7 times as much lobsters. We will probably, we're going to hopefully go out to Isla Magdalena, which has the school on it we visited last year, and do some more work with the school there and hopefully bring them some supplies. Hillary's been talking with what was the teacher out there. It's a new teacher now, so we want to go and check them out and see if we can kind of help them out and give them some sporting equipment and so on. But yeah, we're excited about the town and just presenting some of the locals' views on how they view tourism and how they view the changing ways from a fishing industry to more tourism. Pelagic Life is a really good one that we'll talk about more. They are doing a lot of great things to try and turn people away from shark fishing and show them there's more of an industry with shark tourism. And now they're actually, you can book full tours on their website, hotels and everything, and they will take you out to, I forget the name of the bank. Something bank. It's like 20 miles north of here. And
it's a big bank offshore where you can dive with giant pools of marlin and sharks feeding on bait balls and so on. Yeah, so that's a really good organization. There's a group in town we want to meet up with
called Grupo Tortuguero, which is really cool because on our way on our sail here, I had a podcast that I had downloaded that it was the guy who created this group, this marine biologist from the States, because he wanted to protect turtles in Mexico. And we found out that this organization is still together, and there's a local chapter of it here in Magdalena Bay.
Blink twice if you're having fun. Don't blink, don't blink.
Don't blink, no fun. I'm just going to close my eyes.
Yeah, but it was cool. So I think you mentioned, right, that they basically started in the 90s?
It was in the 90s. They started coming down here, and they wanted to protect the turtles because there was a big turtle fishing industry down here. And spent 10-15 years or more trying to kind of build up the rapport within the communities and change people's minds. And it sounds like it's been successful, and they basically fully turned it over to the locals here.
And they're still running it.
And they're still running it. We heard they're in town, so we're going to go try and catch up with them while we're here too.
Yeah. In terms of, so back to what Ed was saying about helping out and so on. Yeah, it's difficult. We haven't figured out a really good way to have people help with that yet, other than we have in some of our videos provided what we can find for addresses and so on how you could support those communities in the future. But some of the places we've been visiting are pretty far afield, so getting mail
really
here in town,
address.
Getting mail here in town is pretty darn hard, because you have to go into Constitucion to really get it. Getting it out to the island of Isla Magdalena is like another thing altogether. Like, I mean, they ship, when they need a car out there, they put a car on a plank between two dinghies, and they drive it on, two pangas, and they drive it across the ocean for 10 miles. So
on a calm day, not on a day like today.
Same dinghy we built right here.
Yeah.
A year ago.
We finished it just over a year ago. Yeah, a year and a week ago.
No fish affected by Fukushima that we've seen. We've heard of that, but we haven't noticed anything. Not here anyway. Not in this area. No. And Bob, yeah, we have Google Translate. We love it. Hillary speaks good Spanish, but we do use it to look up words that we're not sure about.
Especially like at the hardware store when we're looking for a certain part. It's really handy.
Yeah. So yeah, it is a great app, and we have it down the language packs like downloaded, so we can check that out.
Next upgrade to the boat.
Well, we are doing a heater.
Yeah,
that's
on the list.
We have right underneath us is a diesel heater that we picked up in Seattle secondhand, and that will be getting installed somewhere in Central America.
Before we head down to South America.
We have to remove our propane heater and put the diesel heater in. The propane heater is wetter. The diesel heater will be a drier heat. It'll also be more sustainable because propane will be harder for us to find, which is something else we have to solve. Is propane, which is kind of an upgrade. We'll probably get a couple of just big regular tanks, and then we need to figure out if there's a safe way we can fill our propane tanks ourselves.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of research on that. It sounds dangerous.
It sounds like it's not dangerous, and it is dangerous.
Yeah.
Because the people that do it make it sound like it's so easy, and then I'm like, then the warnings are like, no, you will blow up and die.
Martin says Sailboat Story and Vet Tales are building dinghies too.
Oh wow, that's cool.
We heard someone was telling us about Vet Tales, and we heard they're on their way up, so we might run into them hopefully on our way south.
That's right. Are they in Mexico or are they Central America somewhere?
They're in like Costa Rica or something, I think. Yeah.
We have to check them out. We actually haven't heard of those ones before until people mentioned them to us, so we'll check them out.
Yeah, I know the Vet Tales one sounds really cool. But
yeah.
How do you refill? We have a compressor on board. We got that over the summer.
Thanks, Brett.
Built a box up on deck.
Yeah. We do have. I think we do have some moderators. I'm not sure. We have to look at that. I'm not sure how that all works, but I think we do still have them there. I have to look at it. It's a job for Danger Mouse. It is. Next question.
Next question. Did
anyone else have any questions about? If you guys have any questions about what we're talking about specifically
just
now,
chime in,
we'll definitely jump into it. Otherwise, we'll try and we'll jump in. I think we've got a couple more left.
Okay. Oh, this kind of goes with the upgrades. So Alex said he's interested to know that now we've been on Varuna sailing for more than 18 months. Are we happy with her size? Do we wish she was bigger? Are we happy with her rig? Anything that we would change? And if we plan on keeping her really long term or upgrading to something different? It's a lot of questions in one.
That is a lot of questions in one.
So I'd say overall we are happy with her size. I think it's like a house. Like a bigger one would always be nice, but we don't really need it.
Yeah, I was going to say yes for the most part. Yes, very happy. Do we plan on keeping her long term? Yes.
Yes.
Do we want something different? I kind of do. The reason why I say I think we'd keep it long term is I feel like it'd be very challenging to make a change because I think that would mean we'd have to ground ourselves somewhere. I feel like it'd be difficult because we're not in a position to buy another boat outright, keep this boat and then wait for it to sell. Like we would need to kind of somehow find another boat that fits us and be able to purchase it, and hopefully it would be either in the condition that's ready or be able to do the work on it and then sell this. So we wouldn't be able to have time. Our plan wouldn't be to have time on land in between, if that makes any sense. That being said, there's a lot of nice things. Now that we know more about boats, it's nice to look at other boats and be like, that'd be nice. Like right now, my thing is after meeting a few friends.
You've been all about these steel boats lately.
I like the steel because then you could really go to like the Arctic. You know, you could really go do some like not ice breaking, but you could go feel a bit safer going down
sailing
South
amongst
Georgia and so
icebergs.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
which sounds cold.
I think the one
So
thing that we've
cool.
talked about changing or switching up on Bruno that we're not 100% happy with, maybe, or have some like, I don't know. We have a furling staysail. It's a cutter rig, so our staysail, most people have a hank-on one, and we have a furling one, which is good and bad. We really like it for the ease, but we've also debated getting rid of the furling and just putting an old-fashioned hank-on one on there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things we add to the list of it probably won't happen anytime soon.
Yeah. No.
The heater's the only thing we can see right now that we'd do. Oh, and I think this might go into I don't know if it was a question in there or someone else mentioned, but regarding like solar and so on.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
we have started thinking about the possibility of adding a wind generator.
Mm-hmm.
Our solar is great, but definitely if we have like 3 days of no sunshine, our battery's still fine, but we're already monitoring our consumption, but then we start to really monitor it, right? We're being careful of
like
what we use.
High power usage. So the main thing, the big thing is the laptops and autopilot, which the first day of our passage up here, we couldn't use the wind vane. It was all seized up. It had so much salt in there. So we had to use the autopilot for the first like day or 2 days before we stopped and got that all fixed up. And that really killed our batteries because it was cloudy then too. And the autopilot just chewed through the power. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I was thinking more about it, but yeah, I don't know. So I was thinking about a wind generator, but I know there's so many out there that are, in our minds, are pretty crappy and loud and annoying. We would probably want one that's like detachable, like easily removable, because we wouldn't want to shade our solar.
When it is sunny?
Yeah, we'd want some sort of a pole that we could chuck it on. Mainly probably if we're at anchor in southern Chile and it's really windy at night, it'd be cool to be cranking out the amps.
Mm-hmm.
Why a hank-on staysail? Because the Genoa sheets chafe really badly on the furled staysail.
And I think I mean, we originally our thing was the furling, but now I think the more we've discussed it, I think bigger problem might be our Genoa. It's a really big Genoa. It's 135%, which is really big for a cutter rig, and it's also a really heavy weight one. Yeah. So I think if we went to either a lighter weight or a smaller size, it wouldn't be so much pull and chafe on the sheets that just dig into the staysail.
They are SSD drives. They suck up a lot less, but still a lot. Well, especially since we have external drives that we keep most of our media stuff on, right? Computers just can't hold that much because it's a lot. Like each video is around about 300 to 500 gigs. So we keep that on external hard drives and they use up a lot of power. Like once we plug that in, it'll suck the juice. Mm-hmm. We do have a Wi-Fi booster. We do use it. We were able to get Wi-Fi from shore here, but it's not showing up today. And we wouldn't be able to do this broadcast anyway because the Wi-Fi we've had for most parts of Mexico is not good enough to do.
You can maybe load some emails. Yeah. You can't do any sort of like video.
So we're on phone data right now. Is what we're using. But what and see? We looked into that a lot, Harold. Actually, we really loved it. Probably it was. I mean, I love it actually. It's a really cool device. Remember that one I showed you? Yeah. It's probably definitely in the high price range for what we'd want right now, but it's cool. We love it, and it's removable. It's small. It just hangs right off the back. They're pretty cool. So I haven't ruled it out. We would have to look at it and see. Yeah. We kind of were thinking. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be good in terms of a wind generator. The good thing with wind generators as opposed to what and see is that when you are sitting somewhere in a little anchorage in Chile waiting out weather,
anchor for a week or two.
In bad weather, bad weather's probably going to have wind. You're probably going to get power.
Yeah,
that's what we're thinking.
Mm-hmm. What else?
It's easy to sit in the tropics and drink around the Arctic.
Yeah, I know. We're preparing ourselves for cold.
It's been pretty cold here, so the wind's really biting. But. Mm-hmm.
What else?
South America. Yeah, South America sounds interesting and we keep wanting to go more. Now we're talking about possibly going to like the Falklands before coming back west. I don't know if we'll get that far, but we're really excited definitely about Chile. That'll be cool.
Blake, I don't know why more people don't do it. I think it's just because people like to stay in the warm weather. They do the traditional, like, Mexico or Panama and cross, and they like to sit in the South Pacific where it's nice and warm and sunny.
And we really want to explore it. So, I don't know. Right now, we're actually looking at getting in some really good offshore bibs as well, because that's something we'll want, some nice, really good warm weather sailing gear.
Yeah.
And kind of being prepared for that, I think.
Yeah, and yes, like our decision, our kind of whole goal with the sailboat is, the sailboat's a way for us to get to really cool, amazing remote places that we couldn't get to traveling another way. So what better way than a boat to get down there and explore some of that really remote stuff.
We didn't feel the earthquake, Rob. You mean the big one the other day, right? Or was there another one just now I don't know about? No, we didn't feel it, but we had someone message us about it. And it's surprised we checked up on the thing and it said no tsunami warning. But it was pretty close, right? Where was that? Off of Oaxaca?
It's somewhere down there.
It wasn't, it was out in the Pacific, so anyway.
Yeah.
About between 285 and 315. So what Pakia's asking about is the water maker is parts per million, which is how many, I guess, what's in the water, like how clean it is. And I think the WHO standard, the WHO, World Health Organization standard, is like 500 parts per million.
I thought it was 1,000.
1,000 is acceptable because that's what they use, I think, in like developing countries and so on. But I think 500 is what they use as good water. So yeah, 315, 285 to 315, and then we could run it through again if we wanted to. Wind won't charge, the battery with only about... What do you mean, Philip? I'm trying to understand. So with only 20 amps, I've heard of some good quiet ones. Now, well, this is on just through the computer video camera. We use a Panasonic camera for most of our good stuff, and then GoPro and stuff in the drone as well.
Yeah. All right. Cheers,
All
Brett.
right. See you later, Brett. Thanks for coming in, mate. Appreciate it.
How long till we leave Mexico?
Pretty soon.
Pretty soon, yeah. We'll spend the next month, the month of March, out at the Revillagigedos Islands. Then we'll head back into it. We won't do too much in southern Mexico. We'll hit like Zihuatanejo, maybe a little bit around there, and then end of April probably we'll be headed out of Mexico down to Central America.
Yeah. Excited.
Yeah.
100% luxury solar catamarans with every option. Man, it sounds expensive, but thanks, Graham. Appreciate it. Do we have one more question? Or two more?
One more. Well, it's from Rob.
Oh. We're going to get to Rob's question.
Rob, and he wanted to know how our batteries and solar is holding up.
Oh,
so
cool.
We kind of already talked about that, so.
Well, we didn't. We did a little bit, but yeah, so how, I mean, holding up great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to recap a little bit, the solar panels we put on when we tore all this off and redid it, we have 640 watts of solar up here, 320 watts per panel. Each panel is in a separate... I should have brought the phone up and done the thing. You have your phone up here?
Yeah.
You should see if you can connect it.
Maybe I don't. I don't.
Oh well, we're going to show you what it's making right now. I should get it out anyway. I'll do that in a minute. Yeah, so we have a separate solar controller for each panel. So basically each panel is independently run through that to optimize it, get the most out of it, so we don't have to worry about shading on one panel and causing any issues between series and parallel. Then we have a battery bank of 400 amp hours for our house bank.
Yep.
And then we also have a separate starter battery that is used for that. We don't run our batteries below 50. We don't like to get anywhere near 50.
Gotten close to that anyway.
Yeah, the lowest we usually go is around about 65%. Tends to be where we get it. And a lot of that will depend on, again, we're still always power managing. Like we don't want to, there's no need to drain batteries for no reason. Our laptops use the most, so we try not to run that if it's
nighttime.
Not necessary. If it's nighttime, we have to keep an eye on it at night. We don't want to drain it all night long, running high powered, like the hard drives and stuff. The refrigerator, if we need to, that might need to be turned off if it's been cranking out after a defrost or the autopilot. But otherwise, I mean, the batteries are holding up great. The water maker seems to be doing fine with it.
Oh, thank you.
Again, it's all about management.
Said new favorite sailing channel.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, mate.
And Bakuya, I think she was asking if we have a PayPal account. All that info's on our website. If you go to adventureadrift.com and click on the support page, you can find all that details.
I think it's like Hillary at adventureadrift.com.
Yeah, Hillary at Adventure Adrift.
The website is for sure. It has a little button on there too.
Well, we should probably wrap up too. Our computer's about to die.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Holy
8%.
cow. What the hell? Was it full before or not? I guess not. All right. Well, I guess because it's running low, we should probably say goodbye. But
yeah,
it's 8%. Does anyone have any last minute couple of questions before we go? Like short ones we can get into? Thanks again for everyone coming along and being here and always supporting us and watching the vids.
And it'll probably be April before we get to do our next live stream because we'll be way far out of service for all of March.
Yeah, so you probably will notice our videos will fall a little more behind because we will not have service for probably 5 to 6 weeks. So we have to plan ahead for that to make sure that you still get a video every week.
Yeah.
While we actually can't respond, and so you won't see comments from us or anything like that.
But the videos will still be coming. And
we'll try and do Twitter updates to let you know where we're at. And our tracker, which for some reason is not working on our website. I think our website got hacked. I don't know. I've got to try and figure that out and get it back on there, and then you'll be able to follow us.
Yeah. Well,
see you later, Jonathan. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
stay safe yourselves, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you around. If you haven't watched this week's video, go check it out. It's live.
Yep. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Adios.
Bye-bye.